How about your friend group? So I've actually been pleased when I've had for health things, I've had bouts of not drinking and I thought it's been fine. Like I've gone, 3 months. And recently in our neighborhood, there's been friends of mine who haven't been drinking and they're still out kind of with the same group. Although sometimes I notice them leaving much earlier, probably because they're making good
Mhm.
decisions. But I'm curious, did your friend group change? Because I do have a very close friend who she and her husband both stopped drinking, and she did say their friend group changed. And
Mhm.
her view was that the other people felt uncomfortable. That
Yeah.
it wasn't
Yeah.
that she didn't want to hang out with people who drank, but it's like they didn't want to hang out with them when they weren't drinking. And so I'm curious in your experience or with the people you work with, how do you see the friendship? Because I think people have a lot of anxiety about that.
Yeah. They do. The way I like to present it when you are starting out is to say, I'm doing a no alcohol health challenge. Like that way it is a health and wellness choice. It doesn't necessarily provide judgment on them.
Uh-huh.
Usually when I say that is like, but I like also saying for a set period of time. Like I'm doing dry January, right? I'm doing not
It's
that
like
is
the
so
whole
common.
30 people do, that type of
Yeah,
thing.
well, people do Whole
Yeah.
30. Personally, I like 100 days because 30 days, you spend half the first 2 weeks, like, not feeling as good as you could, and then the next 2 weeks, you're basically counting down to drinking as your reward for not drinking. You never get to, like, just live and see what life is like without it. But I tell my clients, tell them you're doing a 100-day no alcohol challenge. Tell them you're doing it for better energy, less anxiety, better sleep, right? What I've seen happen there is the conversation immediately shifts to whatever they're doing or should do or used to do for your health. So you say that, and suddenly everybody's telling you about their Peloton or their Whole 30. Like it shifts it to whatever they're doing to take care of themselves or what they want to do. Now, people will do a couple things. Your friends will do a couple things. One, they might say something like, "Oh my God, I could never do that." Okay, that's cool. A lot of people don't run
I
marathons.
hear that
That's
about
like,
gluten too.
yeah, totally. Some people will shrug and not care, and that blew my mind because if you're a drinker, you really care. Some people give you a really hard time, and that is all about their own relationship with alcohol. If they're like, "Oh my god, have one, do this, do that. That's so lame. We're not gonna have fun." That to me is they are uncomfortable with me not drinking because it's going to somehow reflect on their ability to drink or how their drinking looks. And that's the way we've always connected before. So usually the way I think about that is if I decided to be a vegetarian and they gave me a ton of pressure to eat meat, that would be a really bad friend thing to
Yeah.
be. Like you would be a jerk,
You
right?
would not be
Like
friends.
you would not be friends.
Yeah.
So, sometimes I let that go. The only people that I really talk to extensively are the people who are like, "Really? How is it? Is it hard? I've been thinking about my own drinking." I mean, you will be shocked. Drinking is like the one topic that nobody discusses. You can talk about struggling with sugar, you can talk about struggling with nutrition, you can talk about anxiety, therapy, depression, your marriage, but somehow alcohol is like, I better not say anything about this.
I
And
think
if
it
you
might
can,
be because of that people might think I'm an addict. And
yes.
there's that
Yeah.
stigma around that, and which I do think is getting better, by the way.
Oh, it's getting so much better. I
Yes,
mean,
but I think people are like, "I don't want them to think I have an addiction,
yeah,
that I'm an alcoholic," and so I think that has been part of that.
100. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And because of that, nobody talks about trying to moderate and failing to moderate this highly addictive substance that is everywhere. Now, it's shifting so much that I went to a restaurant with my husband last night. It literally was, they make their own alcohol, like a spirits distillery. They had like 1,000 different kinds of hard alcohol. I'm 8 years sober, so I was totally cool with it. and went there, and on their menu next to all the stuff that they, you know, brew and have and make was a couple things. They had their canned and bottled beer, and number 1 was Athletic Brewing Company, which is
Oh,
my
yes.
absolute favorite,
My husband
which
likes
is
those.
yeah, non-alcoholic beer before they listed the other ones. And then they had a mocktail part of the menu. Well, 0 proof cocktails, call it whatever you want. But under the mocktails, they said in a sentence, "For the sober curious, those under 21, or people not drinking for any reason." And the
Dang.
fact that they put sober curious on there and had like 6 different options, some of which, by the way, had non-alcoholic gin and vodka and whatever in it. There are those options, was pretty amazing in a place that was centered around alcohol.
That is amazing.